We're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon and evening, everyone. Welcome to this SonoSim webinar. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be reviewing the new My SonoSim Dashboard, which is launching Thursday, March 2nd. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes, but first, a few housekeeping items. This webinar was made available to both learners and admins that currently hold a SonoSim seat license. Because of the size of the attendance today, all participants are muted. You can send questions at any time during the webinar via the chat feature in the GoToWebinar interface. We will answer questions at the end of the presentation. You will receive a link to rewatch this webinar after it's complete. It may take up to 1 business day for this link to arrive in your inbox. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenter today. Jessica Dickley is a product manager at SonoSim and will be presenting all the new features of the My SonoSim Dashboard. We hope you're as excited about what you see today as we are to show you. I'll pass it off to you now, Jessica.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hopefully you all can see my screen. Yeah, like Holly said, I'm really excited to be here. My name is Jessica. I'm a product manager here at SonoSim, and I'm really excited to show you the new My SonoSim Dashboard. So to quickly set an agenda for this webinar, first I'm going to be reviewing the learner experience of the new My SonoSim Dashboard, and then some of the new features we're developing. Then I'll be doing the admin experience after that. And lastly, we'll be going over a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer them at the end. So yeah, let's dive in. Before we go to the new My SonoSim Dashboard, I'm going to briefly show you the current dashboard just to give you a reference point. So if you're wondering how do you get to the current dashboard, you go to sonosim.com and you click login, which I will do, and this will log you in to the dashboard. And right now the dashboard is currently mostly navigational. So you can click, this is how you navigate to different features within SonoSim. You click here to get to the course library, click here to get to performance tracker, etc. And some of the feedback we've gotten from our users is that the way we group certain features has not been the most intuitive. So for example, some of our admins have mentioned that it was difficult to find module assignments, which is a curriculum integration feature, because it was within performance tracker, and that just wasn't very intuitive. So we really tried to keep that in mind as you're building this new dashboard to help make things more intuitive. So with that to say, let me show you the new My SonoSim Dashboard. If you're wondering how you get there, well, first of all, the new My SonoSim Dashboard is going to be launching on March 2nd, so that is when it will be made available to you all. And how you get there, it's the same way that I just showed you. You'll go to sonosim.com and you'll click login, which I will do now. And so when you log in on March 2nd, that new dashboard will be available to you. So just again to mention, this is going to be the learner experience first, and then we'll do the admin experience second. But if you're an administrator or an instructor on right now, there's a lot of overlap, there's a lot of similarities, so it's worth it to pay attention to the learner version because it's very similar, the admin experience. So this is it. This is the learner version of the My SonoSim Dashboard. The first thing that you're going to notice is that the dashboard itself is very different. Previously, it was mostly navigational. Now here it is functional. We've come up with these functional widgets that are really customized to you and your experience and your progress. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to go through the whole dashboard. So up at the top is the My Summary widget. So this is a summary of your experience and progress with SonoSim. So you can see here this user has 41 in-progress courses, 19 completed courses. You can see your average mastery test score, etc. And these are actually functional clickable widgets. So if I click this, it will go to my in-progress courses. Moving down to the next one, very similar, it is recent courses. So now when you come on the dashboard, you'll be able to access your most recent course. And this was going to update in real time. So if you go to the course library and start a new course, like the fundamentals course, then you come back to the dashboard, that's actually going to be the first course in this widget. So you can jump right back in. Another thing I want to mention, a change to these course cards. And what the cards are, it's just this white box. But in addition to being able to start and continue a course via the button, we've added some quick links to the bottom of the course cards. Starting with the middle here, we've added a quick link to the module assignment. And this is actually kind of a big change. Previously, the module assignments were only available to instructors, but we recognized that that was a little bit of a little limiting. So we've made them directly available to learners too. So after a learner finishes a course, they can go here, download the module assignment, pop over to the Sonos simulator, and start that scanning assignment. The next quick link is here, the module report. This will go to the image portfolio report, which shows images and course progress for this module. And then the last quick link here is the module details. This is a brand new page. It's an overview page for this specific module. Each module has one. And what it's going to say when you go to the module details, there's a general overview at the top, then there's the course highlights, and then there's scanning case highlights. So if there's two modules that kind of cover similar topics and you're wondering what's the difference between the two, you can go to the module details here, and then you can read both of them and really decide what module is best for you. So that is a new feature. Moving down, the next widget on this dashboard is recent image feedback. If your instructor uses the SonoSim tooling to provide feedback directly on your images, when they provide feedback to you, you will see a list of your most recent feedback here on the dashboard. This is going to be a running list of the most recent feedback from the last 30 days. So you can see this is an image that the learner saved, and this is what the instructor gave as grades, and here is the text feedback that the instructor gave. So you can just quickly see it here on your dashboard. The last widget on the dashboard is the key features to get started. And this widget is if you have no other progress, like if you're brand new to SonoSim, you don't have any courses, you don't have any image feedback, this is actually going to be the first widget on your dashboard. And that's just because when you're brand new and you're getting started, these are the key features that we think are important for you to know about: downloading the software, taking a course, etc. So that's the key features to get started. Last thing on the dashboard is this announcements section. So now if we release a new feature or a new piece of content, we will be adding a new announcement so that you can know about it right away. And usually there's going to be some sort of clickable link, either a read more or maybe a tour to review the new feature, etc. So this is the first big change. This is the new My SonoSim Dashboard. The second big change is the navigation. So previously, to navigate around the SonoSim features, there was a 3-bar menu in the upper right, and that's how you would navigate between features. But what we've done is we've changed it to be here on the left, and now it is always accessible, no matter what feature you're on. If you're in one of the performance tracking features, if you're in the course library, you can always scroll over here on the left and access a bunch of all of the SonoSim features in kind of one place. And now, like I mentioned before, we really tried to group them to be more intuitive so that like features are grouped together. So let me go through this dashboard really quick. Obviously, the first navigational element is the dashboard, which is what we just went over. The next is the learn element. This is where the course library is going to be housed. The next element is the scan element. This is where you can download the SonoSim scanning software. Also for learners, this is where you're going to access those module assignments. Oops, excuse me. Next is the study element. So this is where you can download the SonoSim mobile app, which was the feature that we previously had. However, we have 2 new features, QuestionBank and SPI Test Prep. Those are also going to be launching on March 2nd when we launch this whole dashboard experience. I'm going to go over those in more depth after I finish going over the navigation, so hold on a little bit and then we'll go over. Next element is track. This is where you can find all your performance tracking features. So this is where you can claim your certificate of completion, and if you paid for it, this is where you'll claim your CME. And then the reports hub is where you can get access to all your performance tracking reports. If you are a SonoSim live scan user, you'll have access to the live scan features under the apply element. So this is where you can access case controller, and if you're a case builder author, this is where you can access case builder. The next is the manage element. This is where you can access your account. So for learners, this is where you can change your username or your password if you want. And the last element on the dashboard is give feedback here on the bottom. This one holds a very special place in my heart because when you click this, a little modal will pop up where you're able to give feedback. Myself and the rest of the product team, we read every piece of feedback that we get and we categorize it into our system. And this really helps us know what you all want, what's working for you, what's not, what's missing. And this really helps us prioritize our product roadmap. So if you have feedback, if there's things that you really want or just something you want to tell us, please put it in the give feedback modal. Again, we read every single one. So plug for that. Okay, the last thing I want to point out with the learner experience is our two new study tools, QuestionBank and SPI Test Prep. We are going to start here in QuestionBank. So actually, speaking of feedback, QuestionBank was really developed in response to member feedback from you all. We heard from our members that one thing that you all really wanted was more quiz questions, more practice quiz questions. And so we developed this to meet that need. So how this works is it's a series of short practice quizzes that give you real-time expert feedback. We've divided it into categories here, echo, abdomen, etc. And when you click on it, it's divided into subcategories. Most subcategories right now have 1 or 2 quizzes. Some have more. As we release more quizzes for each category, we'll be sure to give a little announcement so you all know. But yeah, they're divided into subcategories. There's a quiz. They're usually right around 10 questions, maybe a little more, a little less, and you can take these as many times as you want. They're really self-study practice quizzes for you. So you take them as many times as you want, and when you answer a question, you'll get real-time feedback about whether it was right or wrong and why. Usually we'll give you a paragraph about why it was right or wrong. Sometimes there's an expert narrated video, etc. So that is QuestionBank in a nutshell. Next is SPI Test Prep. Okay, and here I'm going to give a plug. We're actually going to be having another webinar in the coming weeks about this feature specifically, and that webinar is going to go in more depth in all about the feature. So if that's something that interests you, we're going to be sending out that link in the next couple of weeks, and I would really highly encourage that you sign up. For right now, I'm just going to give kind of a high-level overview of this feature. So SPI Test Prep, what this is this was a feature really to help users study for the ARDMS SPI exam, the Sonography Principles and Instrumentation exam. This feature has 2 different sections. The first section is quizzes, and the next is mock exam. So in the quizzes section, it's kind of similar to QuestionBank in that there is a domain, and then each quiz, there are quizzes that you can answer, and they give you real-time expert feedback, just like QuestionBank. But the difference here is each quiz, it has a particular topic, and they're just very focused. They're very focused, very granular, very detailed quizzes. And all these quizzes are very much geared towards studying for the ARDMS SPI exam. So that's kind of the difference between the two. That is the quiz feature. Once you take these self-study quizzes and you feel confident in your knowledge of these topics, then you can move on to the mock exam. So what the mock exam is, it is a 2-hour timed exam, and the question distribution mirrors that of the ARDMS SPI exam. So for example, if the ARDMS SPI exam has 10% clinical safety questions, 15% physical principles, etc., this mock exam also has the same question distribution. And exams are created dynamically. So when you click the start button, you'll get one set of questions, but then when you come back, if you redo it, you'll get a randomly different set of questions. So it feels fresh and dynamic every time you take it. And each time you take it, you'll get a score, and you'll have a running list of scores here at the bottom. So that's all I'm going to say about the SPI Test Prep feature right now. Again, if this topic interests you, we have an upcoming webinar. Highly encourage you to sign up for that. And that is the end of all the new changes for the learner experience. So if you are a learner, if you are not an admin or an instructor or faculty, and you have no questions, feel free to log off, but you're welcome to stay as I go over the admin version of the new dashboard. So this is the admin version of the new dashboard. And you might notice, like I said, it looks very similar to the learner version. That's because it is. There's a lot of overlap and similarities, but there are some key differences. So let me go over those key differences. The first one is this quick links up at the top. We have identified some key features that are very valuable. They're just, a lot of admins use them very frequently. So we pulled them up and made them quick links here at the top. That's the first change on the dashboard. The rest of the dashboard is the same, with the exception of the key features to get started. We just pulled out different features for the admin version because the needs of the admin are different from the needs of just a pure learner. So for example, we have a feature to add users Then we have quick links for our curriculum integration tools, which are more applicable to admins. So the key features is different. The second big or key difference between the two experiences is actually the integrate element. This is the house of our curriculum integration tools. This is an admin only element, and that's just because curriculum integration is really an admin function. So we've only made it available to the admin version. Quickly, before I'm going to move to the old SonoSim performance tracker just to make a point. So this is the old version of the admin performance tracker, and you notice it was split into 3 sections. There's the student performance section, the curriculum integration tools, and the administration managed user feature. Going back to the new dashboard, all those sections are still here. They just have new homes. So your performance tracking tools are all under the track element. Again, image feedback is here. Your reports hub is here. The curriculum integration tools are all under integrate. And then that manage users is under manage. So all of the features that you know and love from performance tracker are still here, but again, hopefully they are more logically grouped. The last thing I'm going to show you all under the track is the reports hub, because it looks slightly different than before. Previously with reports, there were 3 different types of reports, and we've maintained that. There are summary reports, detailed reports, and image reports. So the same as before, but we made the reports a little bit more granular, a little bit more specific. So now in summary reports, you have 2 different kinds. You have a learner summary and a module summary. You also have the course progress report. Previously in Performance Tracker, course progress was outside of the reports section, but now we've moved course progress into the reports hub. So all your reports are accessible in one page. For the detailed report, we have a learner detailed and a module detailed. And if you're curious what the difference between the 2 are, feel free to read the text below and it'll tell you what this report's all about. And then a brand new report that we have is My Detailed Report. Some of our SonoSim admins take the SonoSim courses and save images for themselves, so they actually have their own personal progress. And these reports are more geared towards tracking the class. So we developed a report for you to track your own personal progress if that's applicable to you. Same with the My Image Portfolio report. This is for you to track your own personal images, again, if that is applicable. And then the last thing, the Image Portfolio report. This is a report that we had previously, but we've made one small but mighty change based on feedback that we've gotten from customers. So let me show that to you. Within the Image Portfolio report, previously, it used to be you could only select 1 learner and 1 module, but we recognized that that was a little too restrictive. So what we've done is we've opened it up. It's still 1 learner, but now you can select multiple modules. So I can see for this learner, I can see multiple images on multiple modules at the same time. By default, it will choose all of their available images, but you can use the selection filters to select up or down, depending on what you want to view. And that is all of the changes for the new My SonoSim dashboard and the new study features that we will be releasing on March 2nd. And now it's a great time for any questions if you all have them. So if you have questions, please feel free to add them to the chat. And Holly, let me know what those questions are and I can answer them.
Thanks, Jessica. We just did have one question about when this was going to be going live, and you just answered that, which is March 2nd. The other question I have here is, will my bookmark still work? So if I bookmarked a report that I liked or something like that, will those show up for me?
Yeah. If you've bookmarked report or something with an image feedback, we made sure that the old dashboard is compatible with the new, so those bookmarks are still going to work okay.
And can I control the dashboard that's shown to my learners?
So currently, with the first iteration of this, the dashboard is going to be static. These widgets won't be changeable. However, customization is definitely on our roadmap. It's a direction we want to move towards, either letting individuals customize their own dashboards or letting administrators customize their learners' dashboards. So if you have any feedback or thoughts about that, perhaps there's a widget you think would be really helpful or important, please write us a note, give us feedback, either this give feedback section or actually in the current iteration, there's a give feedback section under the report, the resource center. So please open that up, give us some feedback about what you think, because that would be really helpful for us to know.
I think this is a little bit of a part B to that question and answer, Jessica. Can we hide modules that are not applicable, showing them later on?
Not currently, but that is something. Having a big request that we've gotten from people is to have more assignable elements, like a feature to assign certain things, and with that show and hide certain modules. So creating more robust assignments and control over what is seen is something that we are planning on tackling in the future, but currently not yet.
Thanks, Jessica. I have a couple questions here on the SPI exam and test prep. First question, will the new SPI test prep have PDF assignments similar to the simulation course assignments?
No, they are not integrated into the module assignments, and they don't have their own assignments. It's really kind of going to be up to you and or the learners of what they want to take. So they're not currently assignable.
Great, thanks. And then there is also a question about SPI exam prep results. How will the SPI exam prep results display to the administrators?
That is a great question. So right now in this first version, all of the scores, both for the quizzes and the mock exams, are only viewable by the learner. So if I'm the learner and I take the mock exam, I can review my own results, but right now there's not admin reporting on that. Obviously, we want to change that. We want to make admin reporting. And so that's something on our future roadmap that we're going to implement. But, and then just to get a little bit more granular of what you get, after a learner takes the mock exam, at the end of the mock exam, there is a detailed breakdown on kind of per category how you did in clinical safety, how you did in physical principles, etc. And that's something that can be downloaded. So the learner could potentially download that and then submit it to the admin. But right now that data isn't within the SonoSim platform and it's not available to the administrators.
Thanks, Jessica. One other question here about SPI mock exams. Are those limited in terms of the number of times you can take them?
Currently, they are not. You can take them as many times as you want. There's not a limit that can be placed. However, each exam result is logged. So you would see maybe the first time you get a 75%, maybe the second time you get an 80%, maybe the next time you get a 90%. So you'll see every exam attempt. So if you verbally tell your students, only take it once, only take it twice, you can see if there's more scores than you said. But yeah, right now there's not a way to limit it.
Okay, and one more question about SPI quizzes. Will those be trackable by instructors? I think you answered that question under an earlier question.
Yeah, the short answer is not currently, but in the future, yes.
Okay, last question that I have here, if you do have additional questions, oh, I've seen a few more come in. So first, is there anything I need to do on March 2nd to get this new dashboard for myself and my learners?
Nope. It will be automatically deployed to everybody on March 2nd.
All right, and are students able to take the SPI mock exam more than once? We just answered that one. And one more question here, is the SPI exam available in the current platform or not until 3.2?
Not until March 2nd.
Perfect. Oh, one more question. Are there any changes to the case builder?
To the case builder? No, there's not any changes to the case builder. And one thing I did want to mention about case builder, so it will be accessible if you're a case builder author, it will be accessible here under apply. However, there's going to be a little external icon. And what that means, when you click case builder, it's going to open in a new tab. So it's not currently living in the new dashboard, but it is accessible in the new dashboard. But with that, no changes there.
Okay, and there's one more question about the mock exam multiple tries. If the student takes mock exam multiple times, can they see all the exam results or is it just a one-time view?
So with the mock exam, after you finish a mock exam, at the last screen of the exam will be a detailed breakdown per section. But once you leave that, you can download it right there. but once you leave, that data is gone. You will have your past overall score. So let's say you got an 84%. You'll have your past overall score, but that detailed breakdown really does need to be downloaded immediately. And then when you take the mock exam again, let's say you get a 90%, that new detailed breakdown will be available, but you won't be able to access the old detailed breakdown. So old detailed breakdowns won't be accessible, but the running list of overall scores will be accessible.
Great. Is there a way for a student to upload an image they took on a real patient for the instructor to evaluate?
No, not currently. But that is a great piece of feedback that is helpful to know that that is a wanted feature. So I'll note that down, but if you have requests like that in the future, again, please give feedback because that's the way that it enters our system. So no, not yet, or not currently.
Great. Are there any changes to managing users, adding, activating, etc., or has only the location of the tab changed?
Just the location, let me show you. It actually looks very similar. So you can see it looks pretty similar to the current feature.
Another interest in what's changing, will all our current coursework be moved over?
Yes, all of your current data and coursework will be moved, so no progress will be lost.
Great question. At this point, that is all the questions that I have from our attendees this time. If you do not have any other questions, I want to just thank you for being a participant today and joining us on this webinar. We're very excited about the new launch, and that'll be coming to you March 2nd. There is not anything you need to do. These will just show up when you log in. I don't see any more questions, so I think we're set for today. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you all so much.